Alrighty, we should be good. Um, so let's start off with the disaster that was last week, which you still went 8-6. I went 7-7. Um, anything to discuss last week? We couldn't hit on. So the 49ers lost. Neither one of us thought that. The Browns lost. We didn't think that was going to happen. The Bucs lost. The Cards lost. Um, the splits were your Jets once again won, and we're going to talk about the Jets today because wow. The Colts beat the Jags, um, which was only dwarfed by the Eagles beating the Cowboys. You landed on the Bills in a game that was close, right? So that could have gone either way. And then the Bengals beat the Saints. So those were the splits. Finished 8-6. You're 53-40 for the year and one. I finished 500 on the week at 7-7, 46-41 and one. Still would set the franchise record for wins in the Jaguars. This week we got Hopkins coming back. Any comments about last week before we start?
Well, we can't not talk about a couple things. One, let's get the elephant out of the room again with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Eagles look good, man. I mean, I'm not going to use that you beat a backup quarterback excuse like everybody else is. You still beat a good defense that wasn't playing with a backup, right?
Yep.
They beat a good team. The Philadelphia Eagles look good. Now, we'll see them again. You know, we have the advantage of playing them twice in a season. So we'll see them again. We'll see what's up. But they look pretty good. I still don't think Jalen Hurts is all that. He's a running back playing quarterback in my book still. And I think that's going to hurt him down the stretch. But they look good right now, and they beat the Cowboys. The other thing, I mean, that's all I really have to say about that because I'm still hurting a little bit about the Cowboys. The other thing is, of course, the Jets, Jets. Told you, man. I don't know what it is, but I'm still on that train, and I'll be on it again this week. I think they're doing great. I don't know what it is. I guess the locker room or whatnot, man. They just got a good mix of guys, and their defense is clicking, and their offense is starting to look good. And holy smokes, where did the Jets come from? Now, don't get me wrong. This all will come to a burning, crashing end. They are the Jets, right? But right now, they look good. And of course, the last thing in my book is Kansas City Buffalo Bills. You can't not talk about that game, right? Such a big game. I personally went down exactly like I said. You know, one good defensive stop and ball game, right?
Yep.
That I just gave the quick recap. There you go.
No. I thought Allen pushed them. I thought exactly. I thought it went exactly like I thought it was going to go down. The only difference is the Bills picked off Mahomes, and possibly shaped the franchises both of their seasons because it looks like the Chiefs are going all in on signing Beckham. So, if they go, they've already restructured contracts around Kelsey and some other players to try to get Beckham on their team. I think that was the game that they went, we're close, but we're not there. And if they can get Beckham, that might be a difference maker there. So maybe not. He has his moments, but Mahomes did not win the game. He threw an interception, and that's pretty rare.
Well, back to the fact: one good defensive stop will decide this game.
Yeah.
Also,
or lack
Josh
thereof.
Gordon. Well, yeah. Josh Gordon. Somebody just picked up Josh Gordon. Where did I read about that?
Somebody cut him though. So he's been bouncing around. I mean, he was with Kansas City at the beginning. He's obviously not the same. Someone did sign Deshaun Jackson, which I thought was funny.
Oh God, he's old.
Yeah.
No, but I read today somebody picked up Josh Gordon today. I read it somewhere. I don't know where I read it. I don't know.
I just don't know. It's gonna make a difference.
There was no gummies involved.
There was no gummies involved. All right. So our first game is going to be the Saints and the Cardinals.
Oh jeez. What's the record here? You got the Saints at 2-4 and the Cardinals at 2-4.
The Lilliputians.
Your little man. You love your little mans. You got one little man on one side and a blind quarterback on the other.
LASIK.
Is that like...
This is brought to you by LASIK surgery.
Yeah. Blind man and three little mice, or what is it? This game, bro. Look, the big thing to talk about here is obviously D-Hops, right? He's back. What difference will he make? Man, look, the guy's an awesome receiver. I know he ended last season with an injury, correct?
Yeah.
He's back though, man. I think he's gonna be back. I think that's a big thing, especially since Arizona no longer has Brown, or he's on injured reserve or hurt or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like Listen Frank, so he won't be playing.
I think it was Arizona that signed up Josh Gordon, bro, to be honest. Maybe not. I know I read something, bro. Anyways, D-Hops is back, man, and that's a big time receiver no matter what, right? Obviously, you thought they don't. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've signed him in every fantasy league, so yeah, I think so.
I have him in a couple as well. You beat me to him. Well, I didn't really want him in the VX9 league only because we're so limited on roster spots.
Yeah.
But I do have him on my money leagues, except for the one. But I do have him in my big money league, which is great. Anyways, the only problem with Arizona is they don't have a run game right now.
And both of them are hurt.
Correct. So, we'll see how that goes. I just think that having D-Hops back is going to be big. I think it may play out for this game that he hasn't practiced, right? Because he's been suspended. He couldn't practice, couldn't anything.
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson. That's who Arizona signed, bro. Robbie Anderson. I think that's pretty big, man. If you think about it, Robbie Anderson is a deep threat. You lost Brown, you got Robbie back. You got Robbie now. I think that's a big tool for them, especially with D-Hops back, man. You got to put so much double team or something on D-Hops. That's going to open up Robbie deep. Now, can little people get it to him?
Maybe not.
Maybe, yeah. So I think the Arizona's looking better. In fact, with D-Hops back and having Robbie, they just don't have a run game. Their defense to me is mid-par, right? And now here comes into town the Saints with the same, not a very good record at 2-4 either. Their offense isn't bad. Kamara's back, and you've seen what he's been doing. Kamara's on fire, man. Whether it's the blind mice, Winston, or whoever else, or Andy Dalton, right? I think Andy Dalton's getting the start, isn't he?
Well, it's you got Winston, you got Dalton, and you got probably the best of the bunch, Hill. So.
I think Dalton's getting the start. I thought I read that. I could be wrong. I have to look, but yeah, either way, Winston, Dalton, doesn't matter, man. Kamara is a big deal there, and it's going to be a big deal. I think that this game, having D-Hops back is great. The defense on the New Orleans side is not what it used to be. But D-Hops is back his first game, man. He's got to get a little bit of play time to get in groove, and I think it won't be this game. I think he'll do all right. I personally will not start him this week. I just think he's going to need a game or two to get roving. I think the Saints win this one with Kamara busting out for like another 8,000 yards, I'm hoping. Maybe 200 yards. So this game comes down to basically that. D-Hops isn't there yet. The defense sucks. Kamara tears them up. And the Saints win by like 14 points.
Saints win.
The end? Saints win, yes.
So the big one, the Saints turn the ball over. Like, they're the worst in the league in turnovers. And then you flip that around and you go, their defense is near the bottom of the league. Arizona is better than them by 9 or 10 spots. The Cards' offense has been not very good. And the Saints, I love the fact that you said the Cardinals can't run the ball, because basically they're the Bills with a half-size quarterback. I think he's the only option right now. They're not going to throw to the new guy who doesn't know the playbook. They're going to throw to the one guy who can actually get open. And I think he's the difference. I think the Cardinals are actually going to win based on they've got a better defense and that Hopkins gets 300 yards.
Mm.
I
All
will
right.
be wrong and be sad about it, but that's what I think.
Well, Kyler Murray last week. I mean, come on. They only put up 9 points last week against the Seahawks. Let's start with that. Now I get D Hop wasn't there, but the run game, their top running back last week was Kyler Murray. Their top receiver Zach Ertz. I just don't see it, man.
Yeah.
That's Saints.
That's Saints. And then just to go through the injury report, big ones that are out. You got Landry is out for the. That's the flip side is the Saints don't have anybody to throw to either. They've got Landry out. They've got Winston's limited participation. They got Lattimore's out. They got
With the rookie Olave.
Pittman's or Thomas is out. Dalton played. Yay. On the card side, we know Brown's out. We know their guard is out. Their center's out. Their running back Williams is out. That's all the outs for now.
That's a lot of outies.
That's a lot of outies.
They got the Olave. I don't know how to say his name. The rookie, man. He's done pretty fucking good this year.
Yeah, Atlanta at the Bengals.
Atlanta at the Bengals. Well, look. What did Atlanta do last week?
They won. Apparently, Tom Brady's time is up.
I don't know. I like that man that had him screaming at I gave up my family for this.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Man, I still don't believe, I'm not a Mariota fan. I never will be. I don't think.
Ever?
I don't believe in him, that's for sure. Their top runner is still Cordell Patterson. He's been out, 2 games now? And now doesn't have a running game at all. I guess their defense really stepped it up. I don't know. Their defense isn't that great either, and they beat
Mariota
Tom
accidentally
Brady.
threw a couple balls to Pitts and he caught him. Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah.
I'm sure the guys that have Pitts on their fantasy lineup are freaking happy.
Well, they weren't starting him. That's what probably happened. They're like, you haven't done anything in 5 weeks, and then, patow.
Yeah, but look who they were playing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this game though, I still I'm not a big believer in Mariota. The running game isn't there, and he's not a very big rushing quarterback. I think the Bengals are starting to come around and click. I think Burrows is a bad dude, and he's getting into that groove, right? Which we all were waiting for, obviously. That groove will start. He'll start turning up, start getting better, and the team is starting to click. Their defense isn't that great, but Falcons' defense is way worse, in my opinion. There's not a lot to say about this game. There's not gonna, to me, yeah, the Falcons had a nice little victory, a nice little win, but the Bengals are not the 49ers. Does that make any sense to you? There ain't no Jimmy G on the other side. There ain't no running game on the other side. The Bengals actually have a run game. They actually have good receivers. They have a good quarterback. I just don't see this going very well for Atlanta. So I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Gotcha.
And cigars.
The Falcons have been feisty, and that's their defense is keeping them. They're actually +2 in turnover ratio as a team. The defense is keeping things tight, and then they're getting a few timely plays to keep themselves in the games. They've not really been blown out. They've hung in all the games, which is great. They're just not. They're not on the Bengals level. I don't think they can throw enough bodies at Burrow to move him off his spots. I think the Bengals are also going to win.
For the line that Burrows has, right, which is killing him early on, he's still 66%. He still has 1,616 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 picks. The only thing that surprises me is the running game, right? Mixon hasn't been doing that great, but
Well, but Mixon's been in there for a while now, and you know how those running backs age, so that doesn't super surprise me. Um, they never really got a backup for him that was younger that would kind of step in. So, and I thought honestly, I thought they were going to have a hangover. I thought they they just looked like a team that was going to take a step back. They kind of they rode a great playoff run to the Super Bowl, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to keep it up. So I thought they would regress a little bit. And regressing from 10 wins or 11 wins isn't that's not a big drop to being a 500 team. So, but I think they're good enough to beat the Falcons.
I agree. The Bengals.
The Bengals. So our schedule says the next team is the Lions and the Cowboys.
Oh boy. Well, aside from being a homer pick, because you know what I'm picking here, I don't think the Detroit Lions are good enough to stop the Cowboys at any facet. Not on offense, not on defense. Now, speaking of offense, yes, the Dak is back. Now, I'm going to be very honest, and I said this on here a few times. I did not think Cooper Rush was the answer to everything. He was doing great as a backup, sure. Now, I've also said I don't believe Dak Prescott is the answer to everything. I'm not a big fan of Dak's either. I did start as one. Obviously, you want to be optimistic and think your quarterback's going to do this and that, but I don't know. He's like a low grade Tony Romo, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that we keep getting quarterbacks that choke for us, man. They just can't. You don't feel confident, right? Like every time I watch the Cowboys and we're trying to make a comeback to win, you're just waiting for Dak Prescott, just like you're waiting for Tony Romo to throw that fourth quarter pick that ends your little dreams there, right? I don't know if Dak Prescott is that guy, man. I guess if he's gonna be that guy, he's got to come prove it, right? And this is where he's got to come out and play his game and do well, or everybody's gonna be back screaming for Cooper Rush, and it's gonna be horrible in Dallas. And eventually we'll get rid of them both and hopefully draft a quarterback, which I think we're overdue on drafting a quarterback. Dak Prescott is not the answer. I was surprised, if they gave him such a big contract after the ankle injury, but it is what it is, man. We are here, and we got to ride or die with them. Now, long story short, because I know I get a little long-winded. On the other side of the ball, the Lions have some weapons. Obviously, they have the running back Williams. Swift is still injured, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reynolds is a good receiver. Obviously, they have the Egyptian over there, Monaco St. Brown, who's a great receiver in my book. Obviously, I went crazy with him on fantasy football. He's back from injury, which makes a big difference. Unfortunately, I'm waiting for the true and real Jared Goff to stand up, which will happen soon enough. I think the Cowboys' defense is a pretty good defense. I think they were exposed a little bit by Philadelphia, but I think that was more so because Hurts is a running quarterback, and I don't think they were prepared for that. But Goff is not. Long story short, I think the Cowboys do enough to win. I think Dak comes back and has maybe 2 or 3 really good games to everybody can say, oh, there it is. Cooper Rush just a backup. And then Dak will have his shit games and everybody will be screaming for Cooper Rush. Let's hope not, but it is what it is. I think the Cowboys have some overhauling to do, in my opinion, and you already know them. But I don't think that Pollard is the future running back either. I think he's good, but I think they need to clean up, man. I think we have too much money invested in a quarterback and a running back, and that kills us across the board. Because eventually, CeeDee Lamb's contract comes up and Diggs' contract comes up, and how do you keep these guys? Parsons down the road. How do you keep them paying so much money to two pieces on your team that aren't producing the way they should be?
Well, and are they you spend that kind of money on players that are great and superstars. Like you spend that money on a Rodgers and you spend that money on a Brady, right? Because and even the Patriots didn't spend that on Brady, but you spend it on the Mahomes, right? Because he can single-handedly take your team to the postseason with an inferior team. That's what you spend it on. Can Dak take them single-handedly to the playoffs? No, he's not that quarterback. He's a quarterback that's had a premier running back for a long time. He's had a premier wide receiver at least one of the two positions. Sometimes you've had two, and you can you can say maybe guys like Cooper aren't premier wide receivers, but they were they've had their moments where they dominated in the league, and so he hasn't played on a team like Green Bay right now has I think me and you can outrun their wide receivers. I'm pretty sure. They got two great running backs, and that's the end of it in Green Bay. And he's still, even on a down year for them, it's 3-3, and they're probably still going to make the playoffs. Um, so he to me he's like that Cousins mold where you don't need to pay them a huge amount of money, which is the same thing Washington did, right? They kept talking, like, oh, we'll franchise this guy, but we don't really want to give him a long term contract because they knew better, and I think that's what Dak is. The question is, your offense is in the bottom third of the league, so in the short term with a number 3 defense, does Dak do enough to get you in the top third of the league? And that might be the difference because he is better than Cooper Rush. Is he a superstar? No, but can he get you guys in the top third of the league, right? A top 3 defense into an NFC Championship game? Yes. But he probably won't do it this first game, right? On the flip side, you're playing a team that is Jekyll and Hyde, right? They cannot stop anybody. So maybe he will look great in the first game. On the flip side, they're pretty offensive, but their wide receivers are banged up. So I think number 3 defense, Dak, who doesn't make a mistake, beats this Lions team, and I think you could do it pretty handily.
That's the biggest problem, though. Dak not making mistakes. That's what gets me about Dak. Sometimes the decision making is just questionable, right?
Yeah.
Coupled by Kellen Moore to me, man. Ugh. Look, man, I don't know why everybody's afraid to use Dak the way he should be used, right? Like, he's a mobile quarterback, but they don't use him like a mobile quarterback. And I think you need to. I think you need to let him loose and let him be and let it happen, right? But keeping him in the pocket, Dak makes some horrible mistakes sometimes, and that's what costs us games. Now, we do have a great defense right now, man. You got to say enough about Parsons and Diggs and even D-Law right now is stepping it up, right? We do have a great defense. Our defensive coordinator next year won't be there, obviously. But in this game, yeah, you're right. I think that the defense will keep us in the game. Dak has to maintain his mistakes, and we'll be fine. I think we win. It won't be pretty, but it'll be a win.
And we could with the Detroit defense, it absolutely could be a pretty game. You might blow their doors off, and your defense may make Golf throw 15 picks. Especially with no running game and banged up wide receivers. This might be the perfect game for Cowboys fans to forget all about Philly. They're the anti-Philly, if anything. So, and back on the Dak thing, I think the reason is because he keeps getting hurt. Right? You have that. Everybody wants that quarterback that can run and throw because it opens another dimension, right? So now I just can't key on the running backs and the wide receivers. I also got to look at, we got to put a defensive player to spy on the quarterback. So everybody wants that until your quarterback runs for a 5-yard gain and breaks his ankle. Then you don't want it anymore. Then you're like, oh, we need to have a pocket passer like Brady. But I think sometimes coaches get in the habit of I can turn this running quarterback into a, no, you can't. That's how they played. That's what there's in their head. Can you limit them and have them do less running or less stupid running? Absolutely. Josh Allen, by the way, when you're up 20 points, don't run for it and get tackled, right? You can be less dumb, but you still should have that element of getting outside the tackles and throwing and when a play breaks down, scrambling and just being smart about not getting hit. And I think that's what you should have with Dak because he is that kind of guy that's mobile, that can get around, and he doesn't have to get hit. He can get down, he can slide, but he can take a 5-yard chunk and make things all better. But they don't want to do that. They think he's going to be better in the pocket, and that's just dumb because he's not that guy.
Agreed.
And this, I think, you say it's Jerry. I also don't like your coach. I've never been a big McCarthy fan. So I don't.
I want to see Peyton in Dallas.
Huh.
I think he should come over. Why not? Look, we almost had Peyton, and Jerry Dumbledore that one. He ended up with New Orleans.
Well,
Just like we almost had Drew Brees too, and Jerry. I mean, there's a lot that could have happened in through everything, right? We could have had
in some multiverse. You've got Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and 18 championships.
Correct. Randy Moss.
Yeah. Ripper's Infinity Gauntlet is getting installed right now.
Look, man, let me tell you something. When an organization like the Dallas Cowboys, who are big, right? They're a well-known name. Come on, America's team or not, well-known name. Period. When an organization like that hasn't won a Super Bowl in so very long, and I get it, there's other teams too, right? But there's expectations for an organization like that, and the fact is that there's an expectation for them to win every year, not just by their own fans, the haters too. Like I don't know. I just the hate club and the love club all want to see the Cowboys do something, right? One wants them to lose, one wants them to win. The fact is
something to talk about, yeah.
All these years of nothingness, who do you blame? Coaching? Come on, man. You gotta blame the guy on top. He's the one who keeps making some sad decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many great coaches we've been through that have left because they just couldn't put up with Jerry.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, the Cowboys win.
Cowboys win.
Unless Dak decides to throw 4 picks, and then they won't win.
But then if Goff throws 5, you're fine again.
Evens out, correct.
The future Super Bowl champion Colts versus the Titans.
Oh boy. Well, according to my buddy here, the Colts are the Super Bowl champions. He loved them. I still don't love them. Now, are they starting to look better? Maybe. Maybe they are bringing it down, right? I know they lost their running back, right? How long is he out, Taylor?
I am looking at the injury report.
Either way, Matty Ryan is still Matty Ryan, man. He's got great yardage. His touchdowns to pick rate is not very good. I'm still not a big Matty Ryan fan. I think they're going to run into teams where he's going to play well because...
So Taylor had limited practice, so he will probably be back this week.
All right. Well, again, Matty Ryan, he's going to have games where he's going to play well because they're playing defenses that are soft or, whatever, right? He can still throw the ball. If you can stand in the pocket and throw the ball and have the time to throw the ball, yeah, he's a great quarterback, right? I mean, there's no question about that. Is he going to roll out and take off for 40 yards? Of course not. If a team figures out how to put great pressure on him, he's in trouble. We've seen it, right? So Matty Ryan, to me, I'm still not sold on it. Is he a great stats quarterback for you in fantasy football? Yeah, at times he really is. This game, however, though, if Taylor's back, makes a difference. He hasn't done a lot this season, but man, you're just waiting for that breakout game. He's obviously a great running back, and once that starts, it starts going right.
Mm-hmm.
The defense is starting to play a lot better, so there's that. So the Colts aren't looking bad. Future Super Bowl champs? I think not. They're one and done in my opinion. But on the other side, you have the Titans, who obviously they've never really had a great passing game. Their offense is really stinking it up right now. Henry is not. I mean, dude, he's got 104 carries for 408 yards. That's not great. 5 touchdowns. He's not where everybody wants him to be, obviously. By now, 2 years ago, Henry had like 8,000 yards at this point.
25,000 yards.
Yeah, so it's tough to see the Titans or to sit here and say, all right, well, the Titans and Henry's going to have a breakout game, and I'm sure every Henry owner, including myself, because I do have him on one team, are waiting for that big 250 plus yard game and 4 touchdown game, right?
Yeah,
not going to happen. Tannehill has nobody to throw it. Honestly, their number one receiver is Robert Woods. I loved Robert Woods in the past. Obviously, there's a reason why I didn't get him this year, and I used to get him every year.
Is it because he's 97 years old?
Correct. And his birthday's tomorrow. So, the Titans look old. Does that make any sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just looked inept. You got Tannehill, who's that guy, right? Like, you'd be better off having Cooper Rush over there. So Tannehill isn't great. You have D. Henry, who, I don't know, he's just not. It's hard when you're the only weapon, bro. Everybody knows, yeah, let him throw it. It's Robert Woods. He's old and on a walker. He ain't catching. Anyways, let's just key on D. Henry. So, they got 10 guys on one football player, and everyone else is like, hey, you cover the receivers. So it's not happening. The Titans look bad. The Colts are starting to step up. I could sit here and pray that D. Henry has a big game, even if they lose, because I want that. But it's the Colts this week, man. I think the Colts are starting to click. Super Bowl champs, no, but they are starting to click. However, the Colts have trouble when a defense starts really putting that pressure on Ryan and making him move out because he's not mobile. And if he ain't sitting in the pocket throwing the ball, he's in trouble, especially when they have a run game. However, I don't think the Titans are that team. The defense isn't bad, but I think the Colts do enough to win it this week. So the Colts.
Yeah. So the big part, I think the Colts. So first of all, they played the Jags, so it was very vested in that game. The game felt like they had no chance for most of the game. Like we were up, we were in control. Like it wasn't, what it looked to me is it was a young team that couldn't put their foot on the neck. And Matty Ice, that final fourth quarter drive, took him down the field, scored a touchdown. With and scored with like 13 seconds left. They are hurting on defense. They have a lot of people that are hurt. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's banged up on offense, but they've also got Gilmore's not practicing. Their cornerback, Shaq Leonard's not practicing. And Ngakwe isn't practicing. Their center's not practicing. Kwity Paye not playing. That's a lot of defensive players that are really good. Shaq's a great linebacker. Kwity Paye is a great defensive end. Gilmore's a great cornerback. Like, that's hurting them. They usually have a better defense. Their line doesn't look great. It's better than it was, but it doesn't. That's what I expected. I expected a really good line that was blocking. Jonathan Taylor was going to be running, and then Matt Ryan would be, picking people apart. Even though that wide receiver core isn't a big deal. They do have Campbell, but they didn't have a lot of weapons. But I thought he would be carving people up. It's just not happening. Mostly because the line isn't that good and the defense isn't as good as it was supposed to be. On the flip side, the Titans, like you said, it's Henry and there's no one. There's a couple, over the hill players like Robert Woods. There's no one for the throw to. It really that the Titans worked when they had a really good defense, a decent wide receivers and Henry. Like, that's what Tannehill could do. He could manage the game, not turn the ball over, and let Hill do or let Henry do most of the work. This is a divisional game, so you never know. And it is at the Titans. And I think the Colts can't win this because they're so hurt. They're probably a better team, but I think the Titans are going to win.
Well, sure, if D. Henry could score all the touchdowns, throw it himself, run. Look, man, Tannehill should have been gone a long time ago, in my opinion. I think that's the biggest problem for the Titans. It is Tannehill. He had a quarterback, and obviously this year they shot themselves in the foot because they said, hey, you know what? We got D. Henry and old man Tannehill. Hey, let's bring in Robert Woods and say we don't need receivers. Let's just hit the running back do all the work. That's not working anymore, obviously. This isn't 2 years ago. So the Titans' problem is Tannehill and the lack of receivers. And I think that as soon as the Titans decide to say, hey, let's go out and get a real quarterback and maybe some guys he could throw to from, the Boys and Girls Club or something, they'll be a lot better because you got D. Henry, man. And you don't need a lot when you have D. Henry, but you don't have a lot.
Yeah, but they won't have D. Henry by the time that comes around because they're not going to crater. Like that's the problem with these teams, right? Is they don't crater. They went, what's the AFC South doesn't. Someone's going to win at 10 wins, 9 wins. I mean, it's not like there's a powerhouse in the AFC South, so. They're going to be in it. They're going to be 500, and they're not going to get that quarterback. And then Henry's not getting any younger, and he's a big guy, and those guys take hits every single time.
Well, he's getting banged up for sure.
Yeah, he won't. I think he's got a couple more years, and he's done as a lead back anyhow. So, he reminds me of like Earl Campbell. That guy just always got hit. So you're right. The Titans at some. It's getting to the point now the Titans have run it back because they were a good team. They were defense first, run first, and Vrabel's a good coach. the talent is slipping and it's not getting replaced, and they're making picks that aren't working out in the later rounds, and it's catching up. At some point, they need to blow this thing up because they're not going to get better. But they're in a division where they don't have to be. They win this one, they're in the driver's seat for the South again. So, we'll
Guess we're at different ends.
Yep.
Because I'm going the Colts.
I'm going. I can't say it, so I'm not going to.
The Titans. Oh, that's right. You don't like these guys.
I don't like either one of them. In fact, if these guys tied, I would not be upset at all. If they tied with 11 injuries on either side, I'd be even more happy. True.
No, we're spitting a couple so far.
The Packers and the former Washington football teams.
Look here, man. I don't know if the Packers know how to play football anymore. I mean, come on now. Who did they just lose to? Yeah. Say it. I want to hear you say it.
Not saying it. It was an abnormality. It didn't happen. The Jets.
Bro, that game was something though. I mean, look, is it possible that the Jets? Well, we'll get into it, man, because I'll go way crazy on the Jets right now. I'm a fanboy right now. I really am. I've called it a couple, and I'm a really big fanboy right now.
I couldn't tell.
Time, but
is your the question is your uncle rich now?
Hey, man, let me call him. That's right. Wow, and he was letting it ride too. The last I heard. I can't imagine 10 straight Jet wins. Wow.
No, I can. No one can. I'm pretty sure that's a sign of the apocalypse, right?
Dude, I need to call him. He'd have to want some serious cash, right?
You would think so.
He's crazy too, bro. That's the kind of guy I say, yeah, you know what? I'll bet you my car.
He's got some cheese wagon now.
There's a reason why he's been divorced. Yeah, well, when you never mind.
Oh.
Let's just say that guy has bet the shoes off his feet before because he's such a gambler.
Whew.
And then on the flip side, though, he has those big wins, right? Those big wins, and then have you ever seen? There's a movie about about horse racing, and there's a scene where he says he pissed it all away. That's him. Okay. He will piss it all away. Anyways, so man, I don't know about the Packers right now, bro. I don't know that. Are they just not clicking? Is there some kind of Aaron Rodgers? Man, I don't know, man.
I think Aaron Rodgers is trying to date Giselle. That's the only way I can wrap my head around this stretch of football the Packers have had.
So you're saying he's distracted? I got it.
He's got to be, man. I don't know. Something's going on.
I mean, his stats weren't like horrible. Here's what I don't get, and this is not. It's every week. They're focusing so much on the pass game, bro. Wow, you don't have the receivers to do that. Is it the teams are just like, all right, let's just take away the run game, and Aaron is old and he looks like he's on cocaine, and they have no receivers, so they ain't doing nothing to us.
But that's not what the game logs are saying, and that's not
Correct.
What I'm seeing in the games. I'm seeing that they're running for 5 or 6 yards a carry, and they're just like, you know what? Let's throw a pass over the middle 3 times.
Correct. Like, come on, man. I guess it's Blake LaFleur. What's the quarterback?
Yeah. That's.
Is he calling his own offense?
Yeah.
That's a good question because, man, dude, like Rodgers is throwing for 41.
Or is Rodgers? We talked about this last week. Like no one can figure this out because whoever's calling the offense needs to be sacked. And if it's Rodgers checking down because he's like, you know what? Yeah, I know Aaron Jones just got 20 yards, 10 yards, and 9 yards, but I think I can hit this guy in the flat.
Well,
what the hell?
That's the thing, though. What do you do there, right? And we talked about this last week. Yes, we did. And I told you about a kid on my team, and it's the same kid we just talked about, whose dad is talk trash. So, and I booted his ass because he was calling his own number and calling his own Steve and all that. And everybody said, "How could you get rid of him? He's such a talent. But man, yeah. And I think that's the same thing here, though. If LaFleur's on the sideline going, "All right, well, Aaron decided to change the play. What am I going to do? Aaron can get me fired." Is he just not standing up? Is he not? I don't know, but something's going to come out there, man. I still think there's something strange going on in Green Bay. I think I said it last week, too. something's going to come out. There's something weird going on between Aaron Rodgers and everything that's going on there. Now, you're right, though. They've got Dylan and Aaron Jones, bro. Both are, by hands down to me, are great running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not using them. They had 19 total run carries for a total of 60 yards. I mean, come on.
And
now,
they were absolutely blown out, right? No, it's not like it was 62-0 and you had to throw. Like, they were in the game. In fact, it was another, special teams fiasco that basically, put the 14 on the board that they lost by. So
by halftime, it was what, 3-3?
Yeah, this was not like a game that got out of hand quick and you were like, wow, we have to throw. So there was no reason. It just didn't happen.
Something's up there, man. I honestly still think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers has gotten to a point in his career where in his head he knows better than the coaches, knows better than everybody. And if you want me here, you let me do my thing or I'm walking. And I think that may be, part of the condition of him being there. It's like, hey, I want to be able to call the offense, right? And nobody's telling him anything and nobody's stopping him. It's like, hey, Dylan, great run, buddy. You just ran for 20 yards. Sit down. We're passing. you can't make me look.
I'm gonna do three straight incompletions into the lineman's arms.
Man, it's like this weekend. One of my coaches, the head coaches of one of our teams, said, "Hey, I'm gonna open up with 5 passes." I'm like, "Okay, why?" Well, because I think it's gonna be the best. I said, "Okay, you call your offense, but man, it's a different age group." I wasn't the head coach, and I said, "But 5 straight passes, your quarterback's not that great." Well, yeah, well, I gotta get him working. Okay, well, you do you. Pick 6 on the 3rd pass, but you do you. But my point is that there's so much arrogance sometimes in the way you call plays or whatnot. And I think that's where Aaron is at, man. He's got that arrogance in him now that I honestly do. Just look at him, bro. Just look at him. Look at the way he talks in interviews. The guy is different, man. And he's always been kind of stand backish, and he's always been a professional at his trade. And you read about how much he does in the offseason to improve his trade. But man, something's going on there, and it just doesn't look right. And you're right; it looks so suspect when you have such great running backs. And at halftime, you're at 3-3, and it's like, yeah, they only ran for 60 yards in the whole game. Get out of here! Something's up there, and I think something is still up. And until that's figured out, I think things are going to be strange there. Now, however, they are playing the Commanders, so let's start with that. The Commanders do have Wentz, another will it please the real Slim Shady please stand up guy.
I think he stood up. I think we know who he is. He is who we thought he is.
Correct. And Gibson is out, and they have Robinson running now, which I think is good.
But remember, Wentz is hurt. He didn't participate in practice, and he may not play.
Who's your backup?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, look at the game. Wentz went 12 for 22 for 99 yards. I mean, ugh. Yeah, he got hurt, but they don't show anyone else passing that game, so I don't know. Robinson looked pretty bright, man, and I think they were big on Robinson before he got, the stanky leg injury. Got shot in the buttocks.
He did look good.
And Gibson is, I think, done. I mean, Gibson didn't look bad. I mean, his average carry was 5 for 35 yards, 7 yards a carry, and they still sat him.
So it looks like Heineke is the second guy.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
it's not Haskins. We know that. So yeah.
Well, like I said, they're playing the Commanders. Obviously, the Packers are going to win this one. Aaron Rodgers can call his way to the Commanders. Let's just put it that way. They do have some weapons. Don't get me wrong. They have the running back. They do have a couple of good receivers in McLaurin and Samuel. Although Samuel hasn't been doing much lately. And I know this because he's on one of my fantasy teams. I'm not happy about it. But I don't think the defense for the Commanders is all that either. And come on, it's Aaron Rodgers, man. It's Aaron Rodgers. And the Packers defense ain't that bad either. Well, unless you ask the Jets, which is a whole other story. But I think this team cannot stop Aaron Rodgers, whether he's calling the plays or not, or if he's calling the plays. Despite of him calling the plays, the Packers win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers are going to win too. If the Commanders pull this one out and the Packers go to 3-4, that one would be very surprising to me. 2, I still don't know who the team in the NFC period is. I don't think it's the Eagles. I don't feel that way. And maybe it is, and maybe I'm completely wrong. if the Cowboys come back and like I said, if Dak comes back and he puts that offense in the top third, like he had a couple years ago, and that defense it looks legit. If that defense stays number 3, you guys could be that team. And I do think Philly's going to be there at the end in the playoffs, and I think they're going to get there. And barring something like Hurts getting hurt really bad, I think they're there and they're good, but they just don't strike me as like, is this a team that's going to go dethrone the Bills or the Chiefs or something like that? I just don't see it. The Rams look disgruntled. The 49ers can't figure out what they're doing. The Packers don't look good. Like the Vikes, like who is it? And maybe this year there's nobody, and it just is someone is going to show up in the Super Bowl and they're going to get hammered. I'm sure you think the Cowboys, and I hope you're right, but
I don't think the Cowboys
well,
necessarily. I do
you
think
hope it
that
is.
well, yeah, I hope, right? But I do think that the NFC champ, man, it could come out of there. It could come out, or that at least make the NFC championship game. Will be somebody out of the NFC East.
Yeah, I would say that. Which
I mean, look, Washington is the shit team of the NFC East right now.
By far, and it's a far one, right? So it's interesting. I would have assumed the Packers would be doing better. They're not. So it's that simple. We have the Buccaneers playing the Panthers next.
Oh boy. Well, let's start with Tom Brady. Looks like he had lost his mind this weekend. And then get to the quick point of the Panthers are trash. That's the truth. I mean, there's not a lot to say here other than let's make fun of Tom Brady for a little bit and then let you know that Tom Brady's going to beat the Panthers because we all know that's going to happen. I don't know what's up with the Panthers, man. Well, we do. I don't know.
But we can't even blame that anymore because he's not going to be. I think Baker's not going to play, right? So he's hurt, and Darnell's coming back. Now they haven't made announcements yet, but he is. I'm looking for the line, but I know Baker Mayfield is hurt.
Well, doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, let's be honest. Like that game, as far as what the Rams did, the last game, who they played, the Rams and the Panthers, right?
Yeah, and McCaffrey's also hurt.
Wow. All right, so there's not much to talk about here. Not much to see. Tom Brady,
There will be a quarterback possibly throwing to his team or another team that will be shooting up. Person in aisle 5, row 3, please come down to get your uniform.
Well, at this point, the Panthers are the team that you want to run a defense against, right? Like, I'm going to see who's playing them every week, and that's who I'm going to put up there, right? This week it's Tampa Bay, so if you have the Tampa Bay defense, you start them with confidence here. Tom Brady is Tom Brady, bro. Is he doing great? No. Will that stop him from being great? No. I mean, obviously, his check must be in the mail to the devil or something. As soon as it gets there, though, the devil will release the powers of Tom Brady again, and things will be different. I mean, he went 25 for 40 for 243 yards and a touchdown. Look, let me ask you something. And we touched on this with Aaron Rodgers. Do you think Tom Brady is also that kind of quarterback that and he has to be, right? Like, hey, yeah, you called in Z-Zip 39, 42 drive, whatever. Nah, we're not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I absolutely don't. I think he is what now, 45? 44, 45. He is old, dude. Like, I get up in the morning and granted, yeah, he's done plyometrics and all kinds. At some point, you can't do it anymore. And he's broken every longevity record in the league. But you can't keep throwing 5,000 yards when you're 45 years old. You just can't.
He still went 243, 1 touchdown, and 0 picks, bro.
But that's 243. It's not 343 anymore. It doesn't happen overnight. It just happens, and it's slow, and you're not. You know how it is. You're not as good all the time, but one time you can be as good as you were, right? And so he's picking his spots, and the problem is this team isn't as good as it was a couple years ago. Right? It's not. The defense isn't as good. The role players, when you looked at the Bucs a few years ago, they were stacked. Look, they had They had Gronk. They had Howard. They had Cameron Brate. Like they had a depth chart of 3 starters at tight end. Like they had that across multiple positions. They had Fournette. They had Jones at running back, which are both decent starters. They had Evans and Seaward. Can't remember his last name.
Chris Goodwin.
Goodwin, yeah. They had wide receivers. They again multiple positions, but then you lose a guy like Marpet. You lose one to injury. You lose one to free agency. You lose one because he retired, and all these now it goes from being a superstar team to a good team with a Brady that's getting older, and that's what it looks like. It looks like he is his age now, and that's fine because no one else. They had the list of yards and wins, and anybody at his age bracket is done. You got a few people that held on way too long, that are playing on really bad teams that are just getting trash. So for someone to be competing for Super Bowls, that's amazing. But it looks like this is it. The window's shutting right now.
I think that's happening for 2 quarterbacks, 2 greats, Rodgers and Brady, to be honest. But we've said that for a while now, man. I think we said that, and then he went and won a Super Bowl year 2. Look.
Well, I think we said that, and then we said that it was with a Patriots team. So I think he cheated the system because he was with the Patriots forever, and that Patriot team had de-evolved to a bad team, and he was still a good quarterback, and then he went to a superstar team in the Bucs, and he got another 2 or 3 years of really competitive play out of it. Right, just like Peyton went to Denver and got a few years of okay, you guys carry. Von Miller, can you carry me to the title? So I think that happened, but it's not that way anymore. Like he needs to jump to the Bills now.
Exactly right. He needs to find the. So see what happened was the devil said, "Hey, you Tampa Bay owner, sell me your soul, I'll give you a Super Bowl." And then Brady was in New England saying, "I want another Super Bowl." Bill was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take your wife's soul in one of the years. You're gonna get divorced, and I'll give you a Super Bowl, but you got to go to Tampa." So he was making contracts work. So I guess you're right. He needs to go to the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones Jerry Jones already sold his soul. He's gonna live to be 180 and terrorize Cowboy fans forever with bad draft picks. Well, not totally, because Parsons is a pretty good pick. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But in this case, anyways.
Which also the Panthers are trading C-Mac is what everyone's saying, and which I don't know what the market is for running backs, but does that help any? Do you go to any team and go, if they only had a running back like the Bills?
Yes. No, like Kansas City.
Again, there are teams that are should be maybe.
Think about it, bro. Right? I mean, now I don't know, man. Is C-Mac still C-Mac? Right? He's been through a couple of injuries. He's been through one major injury. Is he still the running back that he used to be? Because he doesn't look it, right?
No.
And I get it. It's the Panthers and blah, blah, blah. They don't look this and they don't look that. But C-Mac, I mean, he's not bad. If you see his stats from the game, he went 13 carries, 69 yards. So 5.3 average. To me, that's still a pretty good average, right?
Correct. And especially for a team that is, let's face it, the Panthers are dysfunctional on offense.
Yeah.
So that's actually really good. And it's up to marketing, right? The Carolina Panthers are going to show all the highlights. The game that he went over 100 yards this year that they played in, and throw all the average. He averages 7 yards a carry. That's what they're going to throw out. If you're the Chiefs or the Bills and you get this guy, which to me the Bills make the most sense, right? What do the Bills need? Running game. The Bills might be just unstoppable with that, right? But anyhow, the team that gets him, if they're well off, he's just an added weapon. So I don't know, but the Panthers are definitely hitting the reset button. They realize, I think the offseason they convinced themselves that Baker was better than what he was. We thought he was. He is not. Darnell's definitely not the answer. This is going to be a bad team, and they're just going to ride it out and get a number 1 draft pick.
probably and trade Christian McCaffrey for another number 1 draft pick.
Correct.
And he actually didn't do too bad, but they were playing the Rams, so. But yeah, anyways, back to this game.
None of this matters because Tom Brady, even at 243 yards, still beats the Panthers, right?
Even at 104 years old, too.
Yeah, correct.
Tom Brady, yeah. The Bucs.
Bucs across the board.
What's next?
This is the game I will really am interested in your opinion because it is the Giants at the Jags.
Oh boy. So last week I broke your heart.
You did.
And went against the Jags again. I think I've been against the Jags every game. I don't know. But I'm not a Sunshine fan.
I think you maybe went once.
Well, I'm not a Sunshine fan.
I do know that.
I think someday he'll be coaching his daughter's cheerleading team, but that's just me. Obviously he's a professional quarterback. He ain't bad. I can't say that he has a bad team around him because I don't believe he does. He's got some pretty good receivers in Kirk. Not all right. Let's just say pretty good. He's got some above average receivers. Not great. He has a good running game team in Etienne and Robinson. I think Etienne is a more dynamic athlete, in my opinion. By the way,
definitely faster.
Oh, definitely. I think you just cut him loose and let him run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all that said, on paper, the Jags don't look bad at all. Honestly, they don't. But they're not winning games like they should be, man. And is it coaching? Is it Sunshine? Is just Sunshine and starts throwing picks? Is it, what is it? What is it is the big question, I think, with the Jags. And I think you, as a Jags fan, are probably asking yourself the same thing, right? Like, why can't we win games? Why doesn't Daddy love me no more? Stuff like that, right? And the answer to all that is, in my opinion, and you're not going to want to hear this,
he's not the answer. Yeah,
correct.
So last week was a big game, and first of all, shout out to the chat, thank you, Asterisk Alex. So last week, watching the game, it's where they're supposed to be. You get a young team together and they come in and they have phases that you need to see, right? There's almost a checkbox list. And the first one is we're not losing every game, right? Because for a while there, we won, 2 games a year or a game a year. So we've moved in, we're winning games now. We're competitive in all the games. The 4 games we've lost are all by a score or less. The other thing is you see the offense start moving the ball, and it is. You'll notice the last things that come up, and as a coach, you know these things. The last things that come up are like red zone scoring, and that's what's killing us. I think there's 2 things that kill us. One is red zone scoring. Another thing is that stupid analytics thing. The red zone scoring is what lost us a game last week because we were taking field goals and not getting touchdowns, and it ended up just we didn't score enough, and then we let the quarterback get the ball with enough time and only up by 1 or 2, and they went down and scored a touchdown with 10 seconds left. So I think there's phases, and I think we're going through the phases, and we're where we're supposed to be at this timeline. It's frustrating as a fan because you want to be better, especially after seeing those, the Chargers game and the Colts game where we just dominated those games. But those were flukes that happened. There were some turnovers involved. Things went that way in those games. It's not going across the board. What I want to see is those just go away and over time us get better in the red zone. I think this is a talent team. I think he's a talented player, and I'm hearing all the right things from the coaches and everybody on what he says and what he does, and you can see the arm talent when he there's been times that he's unleashed the ball. This last game, 16 straight completions. Like he looks like he has that kind of talent. And let's face it, the Jags wide receivers are better. They're not great. Marvin Jones Jr., he's a possession receiver. Zay Jones is a smallish receiver, and Christian Kirk was a slot receiver for Arizona. We don't have a number one like a Devontae Adams or anybody like that. We don't even have, a CeeDee Lamb. So these aren't the greatest. Ingram's coming on at the tight end. The running back duo is pretty good, even though Robinson is an undrafted free agent and he's like a sledgehammer. Eatine looks like he can be a dynamic back once he runs through once he learns how to run through the tackles. So overall, I think we're where we're supposed to be. I'm very happy. We're gonna win 6 to 10 games. Great. It's nice being in games, and it's just where we're at. On the flip side, this Giants team is defying expectations, and I'm not a Daniel Jones fan, but this is it's like the New York teams have learned how to play, and sort of shake off all the badness, right? So they're doing it, playing really hard nosed football. I think all the NFC East teams are doing that. They're running the ball. They're making stops on defense, not turning the ball over, just playing good defense. I'm going to go with the Jags, but I think the Giants are probably the better team. I feel this is the one that we're going to steal from. It's at home. I'd like to steal a win.
Well, now I'm going to break your heart. Well, look, he went 20 for 22, which is great, right? 20 completions out of 22 passes, great, awesome, sounds awesome. Then you look at his yardage, 165 yards and a touchdown. Look, man, he's throwing check down passes and small little passes. He ain't hitting it down the field. He ain't finding open receivers down the field. He is taking everything they're giving him underneath, and that's fine. You can still win games like that. But you can tell by his receivers, right? He's got Zay Jones 5 for 42, Ingram 5 for 40, Kirk 4 for 24. On and on and on.
Yeah,
he's dropping it underneath. Etanene went 10 carries for 86 yards, which is great. Hasty 3 for 57. Robinson 12 for 54. So I mean, the average your running backs, your running game in general looks great. Could explain why they're not letting Trevor throw it up a lot, right?
So but that game was because they were cover 2 the whole time.
That's fine. And they were in the bottoms, yeah.
Yeah, they were daring him to go deep, and he didn't take the bait, which is, I mean, and the running game did it all in the first half. They shut him down in the second half, which didn't help.
Correct, but if they're going cover 2, man, is that they know that he can't. If they're daring you to throw something and he's not, look, I'm not a big fan of cover 2 because on cover 2 you're leaving a lot of the underneath stuff wide open.
Yeah.
And obviously he took advantage of that, and you can see it here in the passes. But man, he doesn't hit deep ball great anyways. Not that I've seen anyways. You're right though. This game was a weird one because in the halftime they were up 14-13, and then they were up 21-19 in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter was a weird one, right? Like they ended up with 2 field goals, and the Colts had 15 points. Weird, yes, they ended up winning, but my point to all this is I don't think the Jaguars are finishing games. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it definitely is.
And I think that's what's happening here. They're not finishing, right? On either side of the ball, offensively or defensively. And in the fourth quarter, you win games by finishing games. I tell my kids, start fast, end fast. None of this in between bullshit where you're gonna, we're a second half team, or man, start fast, finish fast. Keep it up, keep going, drive. Because if not, you end up in a fourth quarter where you score 6 points and the team outscores you and wins the game. You get it?
Yep.
And I think that's what's going on with your Jags. And honestly, as a football coach in the experience, man, I always think it's either leadership. It's either bad coaching or the leadership on the field. It's one or the other, man. If you can't finish games, if you can't push through, it's something. In this case, I don't think it's all Lawrence's fault, obviously, because the defense isn't finishing either, because you got to stop people from scoring. But it could be a little bit of both.
In this game, you didn't. I know you didn't watch it, but there was he spent that fourth quarter. So there was, I want to say, 8 minutes left, and he had a 7-minute drive where they just went down the field, took the lead, failed the 2-point conversion, so they were only up by 1. I mean, he did it. This is games on the line. You got to take this one. There was no more second chances. He did it. He scored. problem is the defense let Ryan run down the field with 2 minutes to score a touchdown. So you're right, but I still think that's a product of a young team. You don't roughing the passer, second game in a row, the number one pick threw a quarterback down and got a roughing the passer. This one kind of questionable, but it's just third down and forever, and you throw the quarterback down, 15-yard first down. Like, you just can't do that kind of crap. So
who do you consider young on your team?
Well,
other than Lawrence.
Well, the team's young. So Walker's a first round pick, the number one overall pick. 2 weeks in a row, he's had crucial roughing the passer penalties.
I don't know. I kick it back to coaching, to be honest, bro. If you have that much talent on your team and they're not finishing, then it's coaching. It's not just players, bro, because this is the NFL. There's a reason why they pay coaches a lot of money too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these assistant coaches aren't out there making $30,000 a year. They're all getting paid to be there too. Are they making millions like the players? No. But they're getting paid to teach, man. They're getting paid because they're professionals. And at the head coach position or the DC or the OC or somebody, something's not clicking right, man. And I think once your Jaguars find that, it'll make all the difference in the world. Hopefully. I still don't think Lawrence is your man, though, but that's just me.
Are you going with the Giants or the Jags?
Oh, I forgot about that. On the flip side of that, I actually like Daniel Jones. He's not doing a lot, but he's an exciting, okay, speaking of leadership, right? Like, I don't think a lot of the team follows Sunshine, and I think a lot D Jones, and like, he's kind of like, his team likes him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They like him. He gets them excited. He's in there. He's one of those guys. Not just that, man. Look at the Giants, man. Their coach is one of those guys. I love that coach. He's excitable. He's freaking rowdy, right? He's that, kind of like the Philly coach who mouth, hey, some, bleep, bleep, bleep. I want to say it, but I won't, because I've been doing pretty good. But those kind of coaches, that's the kind of coach I am, bro. Like, I'm not trashy, but if you push my team and talk trash and want to be dumb on the other sideline, at the end of the game, I'll throw a jab at you. I always will, because you deserve it. And you can't let anybody walk away with being trash towards your team, your kids, or in general, right? And you got to throw a jab back, bro. You want your team to know, hey, coach has my back. And these are those kind of coaches, man. I think the leadership is different with the Giants. And I mean, where they were last year to where they are now. Right now, obviously, you got some pieces back, Barkley and so on and so forth. But the Giants are a different team right now. I think they're excitable. I think they're a good team. I think they're enough to beat the Jaguars, unfortunately for you. They don't have a great passing game. I didn't say Daniel Jones is a great passer. I just said he's a good leader. I think their offense, the Jaguars' offense, is probably better than the Giants. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you here, man. I just don't think the Jaguars come and beat an NFC East team. So
Saquon is limited participation in practice.
Nah, he'll be all right. He's just resting, dog.
Just resting?
He's got ingrown toenail. He good.
Gotcha.
He's going to throw up another 8,000 yards.
He does. So, all right.
The Giants for me.
The Giants.
Sorry.
Which hopefully they're less aggressive than the Commanders, right? Because they gave us trouble week 1.
NFC East, baby.
Yeah.
Best division in football.
Great pull on that one with the last place schedule, right? So thanks scheduling gods. Next up we got the Browns at the Ravens.
The Browns. This is a rivalry game, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Sure.
How did that go?
I mean, they used to be the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say. So this is the game for the who takes the real name or who's the real Browns team? I don't know. So
will the real Browns team stand up, please?
Is the fan base divided, right? I mean, you got to think they left and they went from the Browns to the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
So
they went to the Browns. They moved from Cleveland back to Baltimore in the middle of the night. Correct. Meldell did that, and then when the Browns were refranchised in the 90s, they made the Ravens give up the name and the history.
Well, but you would think that there may be some fan base split on that one, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure all the Browns. I'm sure View has Big Dog. He hates the Ravens.
Warty's a Ravens fan. He's not. What is he, a Browns fan?
Yeah, he's a Browns fan.
No, that says a lot about Big Dog.
Yeah, it does.
So the game, this is gonna be not as good as you think. Unfortunately, I'd like to say it would, man, but something's up with the Browns too. I was kind of big on them to start, and then they just kind of look kind of lackluster to me, right? I know they played New England recently. Shout out to fucking Bailey Zappi,
Yes.
who, FYI, Victoria, Texas, it's about an hour and a half away from here.
3 weeks in a row we've mentioned that.
Bad dude. He's a bad dude. Anyways, the Browns have Jacoby Brisket, and we all know that's just not happening for him. I don't know. Jacoby Brisket is starting to be Jacoby Brisket now, right? I mean,
I don't think he ever was not Jacoby Brisket. Like he was.
Well,
he was just in the oven for a little bit. He got a little hot, right? And now he's overdone.
So. Correct. He's dry and tasteless. That's what he is. So Jacoby Brisket ain't looking great. I mean, he went 21 for 45, 266, a touchdown, 2 picks. For some reason, though, look, Bill Belichick came out. He put a good defensive plan together, and they beat on the Browns. And that's the truth. Stop the run game. The pass game was not there, obviously. Well, I mean, 256 isn't bad, but 2 picks. I'm not sure if the Browns are just looking bad or they had a bad game or New England just came in and pounded them, but the defense couldn't stop anything, bro. I mean, the first half was a good, 10-6 game. And in the second half, it's like New England went off. They came out with second half adjustments, found something, stopped the Browns, and just decided, the Browns are like, hey, why don't you all take, 4 touchdowns and we'll just kick field goals today. Something's up there with the Browns. I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's a locker room thing. I don't know. But when New England stopped your running game, which is great, that bad, there's got to be a problem there. Now, on the flip side of that, Lamar, right? I mean, what can you say? The Browns together, Hunt and Chubb have, I don't know, almost 800 yards, 900 yards. And Lamar rushing has half of that by himself, right? So it's tough, man. It's tough when you're the best quarterback and your best running back. Drake is starting to stand up now. Andrews is obviously a standout. I just think that if the Browns defense doesn't show up, which it hasn't, the Ravens win this one. And I'm going to go with Lamar because it's hard to go against Lamar. And I'm not a big believer in Jacoby Brisket. I do love Chubb, but it ain't happening this week. The Ravens win this one. Sorry, Cleveland fans. They're going to tear your heart apart again.
All one of them. So the New England game, who's a quarterback that lit him up?
Zappy?
Yeah. That's the guy from Texas, right?
Victoria, Texas, great quarterback.
So, I mean, this is why Belichick is who he is, right? He pulls one like on paper they had no Chubbs and Hunt should run all over the Patriots, and the Patriots with a guy nobody had as a fantasy relevant guy, put up a bunch of points. That's why Belichick is who he is. So, can he do it all the time? No, I still think they're not gonna have a great year, but they were enough to beat the Browns. The Browns are a team, and I think they're a good team, and it's weird because if you look at it, offensively they're top 10 team. Defensively, not top 10. They're one of the worst. Like I didn't expect that. Turnover wise, they are at the bottom of the league. Like they're -3 in turnovers. So what that team should be is a run the ball, stop the run, don't turn the ball over, and instead they're a turn the ball over, run the ball, don't stop the run, which is not a formula for anything. Then you throw on the fact that the Ravens are a Lamar runs left, runs right, and then occasionally throws a pass that's for 50 yards. That's not a good formula for the Browns. So if Zappa, William Zappa, or whoever the Karate Kid can beat you, I think Lamar is going to eat you alive. So I'm also going for the Ravens.
Zappy. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it is today.
Yeah, it is today.
Bailey Zapp. Hey.
All right. The next one we have are your favorite team, the one that's gotten your uncle all the money, all the fame, the Jets, the Jets, Jets, and their winning streak against the Denver. I can't throw the ball forward. So, thank you for losing so I can win, because in my fantasy game, I was only up by 3 or 4 points with Cortland, the Denver wide receiver, and I went to bed going, not winning this game, and woke up to see he only had 2 points. So thank you, Denver, for not throwing the ball.
Well, don't get me started, because as you know, all I needed was Wilson. I didn't have Wilson. I just needed him to put points or yardage up against the damn defense. Could not do that for me. Not whatsoever. I sat there for 2 quarters and in overtime waiting for anything to happen that would have shifted the score by a point or two. And wow, do I hate Wilson. Look, I think Wilson, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers need to retire. That's it, especially Wilson, because I want to kick him in the wampus.
Because
Wow.
I'm happy that he was incompetent. So
Incompetent, dude. Wow. Honestly, you look at that and you're like, man, this guy's a professional quarterback, an NFL quarterback. Dude, he looked horrible, bro. I mean, let's go look at stats. 15 of 28, 188 yards and a touchdown. He looks just as good as Sunshine. Look at that, for real. Running game, I mean, you brought back Latavius Murray. Oh, my God. All right, listen. I'm not going to get too deep into this one because we'll be here all night. I do love the Jets. I don't know why. I've liked them for a while. They've always been a secondary team for me since what's his name? Mark Sanchez is there. I don't know. Maybe because it's the Hispanic thing, whatever. Maybe because he eats chicken strips on the sideline at halftime.
maybe it's because he runs into center's butt.
That too, the butt fumble.
But the butt fumble.
But I've been a Jets fan, man. You know, so JETSSSSS, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna go with the Jets again. Obviously, the Broncos are horrible. I think Seattle right now is like, man, thank God we traded that dum-dum. Now, as far as my uncle, I got to find out because there had to have been good odds
we need
on
an
the Green
update.
Bay. Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow. There had to have been good odds on that Green Bay game. Seriously.
Oh, you would think so.
And if what I heard is true and he let the last win ride, then he made some money.
Yeah, I could have. I would have felt comfortable putting some money on them not winning that game, and I would have been like, damn, there went that money.
I'll tell you what, though, man. Uncle Rico, we'll call him Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico will win $8,000. I guarantee, or whatever it was. I'm gonna assume it's $8,000 because he probably wants some good money, and he'll bet it on this game too. And Denver will end up freaking winning. That's his luck, bro. He pitches it all away with one stupid bet. I hope it's not this one. I know the odds won't be great, but I'm sure he'll probably double his money. I'm gonna go with the Jets again because I don't think the Broncos could beat anybody. Their defense ain't bad, right? And I know the Jets aren't the greatest, but they're starting to click, and it's the Broncos, bro. If we were playing a let's see who kicks more field goals competition, I might be with the Broncos. But yeah, this one's going to the Jets. JETS. Jets, whatever.
So and just to make sure that I'm checking my boxes and keeping with stats. The Jets are up in like the 10th position on offense. They're averaging looks like 343 yards a game. Denver's averaging 329. So they're even as bad as Russell's doing, they're not that far apart offensively.
Okay, as bad as Russell's doing, bro, you'd have to.
Well, I'm not a fan of Wilson either. So that's my point. And this is in Denver. I mean, I can't imagine him. The thing that's killing me is he's played. Like if I look at it, he's played what they've scored single digits for the last 4 or 5 games. Like he looked horrible. I can't imagine him. I can't imagine it keeps going. Like, I can't imagine the Jets' winning streak keeps going. I can't imagine that Russell Wilson looks as bad. But it seems like both of them are reality, and I'd hate to go. I mean, I'm going to go with the Broncos because they're at home, and because I just don't believe this alternate universe that we're living in. Because I mean, Russell Wilson wasn't this bad last year. Russell Wilson wasn't this bad hurt last year. And I can't believe the Jets are still doing well. So I'm calling it. This is the week it ends. Your uncle loses all his money. This is the week.
If what I heard is true, he's letting it ride. Now let me tell you something real quick. See, the devil had a meeting with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers,
and the Jets,
and Russell Wilson. No, Jets weren't there yet, but he had a meeting, and he said, "All right, only one of you can give me the good quarterback this season. Who's going to get it?" And they all raised their hand, and then the door opened, and this kid from Victoria, Texas, Zappy, walked in, stole the show. The devil gave him all the powers, and these three guys are done. They need to retire because, what's his name? Bailey Zappy from Victoria, Texas, an hour and a half away from me, Texas guy. Anyways, long story short, they need to retire. You know I'm going with the Jets. Bye.
All right. The Texans at the Raiders.
Do we have to?
You have to pick a winner, yes.
Oh boy. Well, as you know, I've been kind of big on the Texans, who are 1-3-1, and the Raiders are 1-4. Look, you see, this is the confusing thing. They're all professional teams. You know the Raiders have weapons, and they're 1-4. That's the messed up part, isn't it? Like, how are they 1-4? Their defense doesn't entirely suck. They obviously have offensive weapons. You got Devontae Adams, who, by the way, his hairdo is ridiculous. He puts his dreads up in a bun. He looks like, I don't know. It just looks funny.
Like, oh, we just had it.
Huh?
It was on the screen for a split second.
Oh. So, David Carr isn't the best of quarterbacks, but he ain't eating it like, oh, he's doing so bad. Jacobs is running the ball. So what is going on with the Raiders? I mean, that's the big question, right? Like, I don't know how they're 1-4. On the flip side of that, you got Houston, who we know why they're 1-3-1, right? I mean, they suck. Do they have some bright spots? Yes. I think Pierce, who again, another running back rookie that I was huge on, and I proved to be right. He's doing great. Now, of course, they have David Mills throwing the ball there, and you're sitting there going, who? Yeah, he's just as famous as Zappy. He was the guy who tried to get into the Devil's office and couldn't get in. So
couldn't. The appointments are all filled for the day.
they're like, sorry, guy, you got to go play for the Texans. This is going to be a hard. Have you noticed there's some really boring ass games on the NFL this year? Some games are just like, wow, that sucked. And I think this is going to be one of them, man. Believe it or not, I think that the Texans defense and the Oakland's defense will be enough to kind of cancel each other out where nobody's really scoring, and it's going to be like a low score, ugly game. So, but we got to pick a winner. And because I'm a Texas guy, and I think that I should probably root for the Texans, I'm going to go for the Raiders.
Good job.
Raiders.
So how we got here? They lost to the Chargers week 1, 19-24. They lost to the Cardinals 23-29. They lost to the Titans 22-24. They beat the Broncos 32-23. And they lost to the Chiefs 29-30. Dude, that's terrible. So you got 5. You lost by 5. You lost by 6. That's 11. You lost by 2. 13, 14 points. That's how they've lost those 4 games. On the flip side, the Texans are like the anti-Raiders, where they're in games they shouldn't have a business. Because you're right. If you put these two teams and you did fantasy relevance, who you got on the Raiders? You got Jacobs. You got Waller. You got Devontae Adams. You got Renfro when he's not fumbling the ball 2 consecutive plays, right? On the Texans, who do you have? Pierce? Got anybody else?
The receiver. Cooks.
Okay, Brandon Cooks.
Sort of.
Sort of.
He's a 0.5.
He's a 0.5. So you got 1.5 to like 5 or 6, right? And this is just a team that's they're worse than the sum of their parts. That's what it is. And some of that you get a new guy like Devontae Adams, and you don't know how he fits in, and you gotta get him in. I think the Raiders team is better than what they are. I think they're going to beat the Titans or the Texans because they haven't played the Titans, and they lost to them earlier. I think that they've been. I mean, there's no way with these scores they should be 1-4. They're closer to a 3-3 team, right? Which is a whole different ball of wax than 1-4. And I think they're gonna. You don't know what this does to a psyche, but at some point you just can't win these close games, and you just don't get over them, right? I think they'll win this one. They'll go to 2-4. Then they get the bye, or they've had the bye. Then they get the Saints. They get the Jags. They can get right in a hurry. So I'm gonna say they win. And you're saying the same thing, right?
Yeah, but I think Devontae Adams is the problem in Oakland, Las Vegas, whatever. I think they've lost those games by little points, like you said. And he's frustrated saying, well, Aaron Rodgers would have won that one. And I think people are getting tired of his ass, and I don't think that that's going to fix itself. But it's the Texans. It's the Texans. Raiders win.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting frustrated. I mean, it's not like he's been tackling any cameramen or anything like that. So there's been no assaults going on.
No signs of it at all.
No signs of frustration rolling over.
Oh.
Seahawks at the Chargers.
Oh boy. Do we have to? No, we do. Well, hold on.
And disappointing Chargers, right?
Why?
I guess because they don't have more in the W column.
Well, they're 4-2. That's not too bad. I mean, the Cowboys are 4-2, and they're great.
Oh, not bad.
Look, Herbert is going to be a great quarterback, man. I think 4-2 ain't bad. He's got 1,700 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks, and that's how he played with, missing a rib. Then that's for the running game. That is, it's one of those running games where like, hey, Big Dog's great at New World. He's a great healer. Exactly. So, man, Herbert is the man there, bro. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he will go down as one of the greatest down the road, right? He's just I'm big on Herbert. I really am. I think he's a great quarterback. Is it enough to beat the Seahawks? Yeah, most definitely. The Seahawks defense ain't all that. Neither is the Chargers, to be honest. They've lost a couple key pieces, but this game, the Chargers, Seahawks, they don't really have anything, man. I'm not a big Geno fan. He's not doing bad. The new kid just started running the ball for him because what's his name got hurt? What is it, Walker?
Kenny got hurt, yeah, Walker.
And Lockett and Metcalf are still there, and they look good and all that. On paper, the Seahawks don't look too bad, but that's paper, right? Start looking at the games, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Can the Chargers make the playoffs? Yes. Will the Chargers make the playoffs? Yes. Will the Seahawks? They're 3-3 right now, man. I don't see a lot out of the Seahawks. Didn't they go in a little field goal fest against Denver? Who else have they played? Let's see. I'm not the stats guy. Where's our stats guy?
We don't have it. That's supposed to be Russell Wilson when he retires, remember?
That's true. Seahawks don't look great. They beat the little people's army 19-9. I don't think that, and that's against little people. I think Herbert's just a way, way better quarterback, and he comes in here and turns
and he's
the ball,
twice
man.
the size.
Very you go. He definitely makes the must be this tall to ride this ride list.
He definitely does.
So I'm gonna go with the fact that the Chargers beat Seattle. Without any real stats or information other than Gino.
Gino, yeah. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. It's not. They are better. They're better across the board. I still I like Eckler. He's to me that the little guy that does all the stuff right. So, I will also go with the Chargers. They do have on the injury report. They've got a couple wide receivers hurt. So Keenan Allen's on limited participation in practice. For the Sea Chickens, you got Lockett hurt, Goodwin hurt. Walker was hurt, but he's full participant. Fant was limited. So a couple of injuries, but they're all in the Seahawks, and except for Keenan Allen. So Chargers.
Agreed.
Which, when we agree, we tend to do really badly, by the way. So.
Why don't you jinx me?
The Chiefs at the 49ers.
Oh. Well, let's look at it. 4-2, 3-3. 49ers look horrible this week, FYI. I don't know if everyone was saying, well, we're lucky we had Jimmy G. Are you though? Were you though? I mean, he threw for 2 touchdowns, almost 300 yards and 2 picks, but I don't know what it is about Jimmy G, bro. Yes, they're lucky they got him because Lance got hurt, but it's like Jimmy G carries this stigmatism with him that he's a loser. You know that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I know he's made it pretty far and all that, but the fact that Belichick said, yeah, let him go, at that point, everyone was like, he must be a loser. And I think that stigmatism has stayed with him, right? Like, 49ers didn't want to give him a contract, and they only signed him to 1 year. Nobody wanted him. Am I right? Nobody picked him up.
Mm.
He's like, Jimmy G guy. Yeah, he's a loser. And nobody wants him. Now, he did lose to Atlanta. He didn't really play a bad game other than the 2 picks, which I guess is bad. He threw the ball around. He hit different receivers pretty well. Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. And he spread the ball around pretty well. The run game was just dead. So how the 49ers lost to the Falcons, I guess the Falcons, you just put it on that second half, which you can see. They totally just stopped the 49ers, which if Atlanta can do it, makes you think Kansas City can do it. Honestly, though, do they have to? Like, does Kansas City even have to play defense? They're like, all right, cool. You just score touchdowns, and we'll score 3 more than you. So, obviously, we know the winner of this one. It's going to be Kansas City. The 49ers do have a good defense, but I don't know what happened last week because Atlanta said, oh, you got defense? Yeah, okay. Atlanta went on some scoring runs. Long story short, because I don't want to get too long-winded about this game. There's not a lot to say other than the fact that I'm glad Ayuk still, had good 2 touchdowns because I do have him, and I do have Debo, although he didn't do great. Ayuk did. You can't stop Mahomes, bro. It doesn't even matter that Chiefs don't have a running game that's really good. With Mahomes there, what do you do, right? That guy's just it's Mahomes, bro. And then of course you have Kels. Do you need Tyreek Hill? Nope. Jimmy James Schuster stepped it up also. Long story short, the Chiefs, and you're going with the Chiefs too.
Yeah, I am, but the reason why the 49ers defense didn't look as good is because they were the walking wounded. They've got 8 guys that got hurt on their defense alone. They don't have Bosa right now. Johnson's out there. They've got no defensive ends. They got 3 hurt right now. They've got a tackle that's hurt. They've got safeties that are hurt. Both safeties. They're missing chunks of their defense, and that showed up in the Atlanta game. On the flip side, the Chiefs are pretty much relatively healthy. Mahomes is a beast. Kelsey's a beast. With the 49ers are playing at home. I still think the Chiefs are gonna again. They're gonna be pissed about the Bills game. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can sign Beckham and if he can hop in before the weekend. I don't think it's that immediate, but Chiefs are gonna win.
That Chiefs. I think that was a pretty easy one though.
Next up, we got the Steelers at the Walking Head Traumas.
Oh boy. I heard Tua's back. Back in the hospital.
For how long?
No, he's not back yet though, is he?
He's practicing. I don't know. I mean, they don't have the official who's playing yet, so he is practicing and throwing.
Look, man, I've seen a lot of injuries in the NFL, right? We all have, right? From broken legs to neck problems, stuff like that. I don't recall ever seeing anybody get knocked out like Tua did.
Irvin in Philly.
What was it? Yeah, but man, he was twitching and shit. That didn't look good, bro. I mean, that honestly, yeah, Irvin was fine. I've seen guys get knocked out where they just blunk.
Yeah.
Fine. But this wasn't that, bro. This is like you thought he was having a seizure. You thought you were going to see for the first time, and it sucks to say this, and thank God it didn't happen, but you honestly thought you were about to see someone pass away, dude. Tell me I'm wrong, man. It really looked bad. It was bad. How he's coming back, I don't know, man. I get it, man. Look, it could be he's thinking, look, I'm an NFL player. This is my profession right now. I got to feed my family. I got to make my money. I'm going to come back regardless. I'm pretty sure there's a doctor out there telling him, man, you really need to make your life decision. Tell me I'm wrong, man. Shit.
No, and the scuttlebutt on the street right now is that he can't stay healthy, and this is not helping that conversation one bit. Right? He is not staying healthy, and not that you. I mean, again, it's a concussion. It's not like you expect that to get those, but you also don't expect to get broken legs and everything else. Like when you pay a franchise quarterback, you need him to be standing in the pocket, 16 games, 17 games a year.
Bro, this is one of those moments like in man, what was that movie where the kid tells him, "Run home and tell your mama you got knocked the bleep out." Something colors, right? Something like that. Anyways, like that's kind of like, dude, this was bad, bro. And I get it. This is as bad as an injury as breaking a leg, dude. He broke his brain, dude. Like, holy smokes. And he's coming back. Like, oh, dude, tell me the last time you saw a boxer get knocked out like that. We've seen him get knocked out, but knocked out where they're twitching? Come on, man.
Apollo Creed, that was the last one I saw. It did not end well. Spoiler alert.
He dies. What does he say?
Yeah, he dies.
But yeah, man, man, I just can't believe this guy will be back. Anyways, let's get off it. Right now, their quarterback is not what's his name?
Well, it's not Skyler. It's not they got Tua, they got Bridgewater, and they got Skyler. Skyler got hurt, so they went back to Bridgewater. Bridgewater did not look impressive. So
they're bringing Fitzmagic back.
It's some Fitzmagic is ripping off the announcer uniform and coming back. I don't know who, and it's a shame because they have some, like Hill and Waddle are running around with whoever's throwing the ball to them going and get 100 yards. Like they're like, dude, can we have anybody like a competent quarterback, please?
Well, again, row 5, C22, you're the winner. You play quarterback tonight.
Row 5, C12, please come down to get your uniform fitted.
Yeah. Now on the flip side of this, it's the Steelers, right? And you're thinking, it's the Steelers, but the Steelers just won a game.
Yeah.
That they probably had no business in, but either Tom Brady and the deal he made with the devil to sell his wife to him didn't work out. She didn't want it, so they got divorced. I don't know. Something's up there, but still Pittsburgh, man. I can't sit here and say, but Dolphins don't have a quarterback, or do they, man? Hill did pretty good in his last game. Let's go look at what happened last game, because I know I saw it. I was like, ooh, what? Let me see. Here's the game, Warty. Dolphins, Vikings. Oh, God. Vikings. Stats wise, Bridgewater went 23 for 34. Wow, he didn't do too bad. 329, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and then they had Skylar Thompson. They're probably going to roll with Bridgewater on those stats. Tyreek Hill went for 12 for 177. Wow. Waddle had 129. So the passing game's out there, bro. They're not doing too bad. Just the Vikings did better, I guess. Pittsburgh still, again, if they stop the great Tom Brady with, Fournette isn't running great, man, it's hard to call this one, bro. And I say that only because the Dolphins had a big win recently, and you think, oh, okay. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers against Tampa, but again, Tom Brady. Man, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Two-less Dolphins. That's me.
This is one of those, to me, it really depends on. I thought in the beginning of the year, the Dolphins were squared away, that Tua was going to get hurt and the Bridgewater would come in. And I've said that for like 2 years in a row. And he's shown that he is just not what he used to be. And maybe with the Vikings, he never was what I thought he was. But he seems to, he's wildly inconsistent. That's it. This Dolphins offense is you put a competent quarterback in and you have just given them a Ferrari, right? These guys are superstars. Hill, Waddle, Gesicki, like that the offensive line is gelled together. They've even got Mostert at running back. Like they've got the skill positions on lockdown. And you're talking some of the best. And all they need is a quarterback to drive this. And it looks like they're going to get, which I'm not a Tua fan, and I don't think you are either. But even if his brain isn't scrambled, he doesn't, to me, strike me as a superstar. Bridgewater's definitely not it. And Skylar's a really hot name for a girl, but not a quarterback. So
Skylar to stage one.
On the flip side, the Steelers, I mean, they had Pickett. Pickett got hurt. They threw in Trubisky, who, did Trubisky magic. I don't know, but he's not the answer either. And the Pittsburgh team didn't look very good. So, this one's hard to call. I'm going to go with the Dolphins because they're at home. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams wins by 50 or loses by, like, whatever the score on this one is, I'll be like, okay. So I think we're both going Dolphins.
Yeah, man. How many? We're both getting up like 2-11.
Yeah, exactly. Not with this next one though. It's the Bears versus the Patriots.
Have I told you? I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. Have I mentioned that Bailey Zappi is from Victoria, Texas, an hour and a half away from me?
I have heard that rumor.
Great quarterback. He's from Texas. All right.
So. Will he eventually go to Cleveland?
Oh, no. He's a flash in the pan. You know that. He's the Colt McCoy of NFL football. The guy will have one good game, a couple good games, and it's like
the Matt Flynn, huh?
Yeah, Belichick will be like, "Hey, it's been great. Yeah, you'll be selling hamburgers next week because we're done with you." Right, so yeah, unless this is like, "Hey, I called the devil over, and Belichick and I met, and I'm the new Tom Brady." Yeah,
which definitely could happen, right?
Don't get me wrong, though, man. The kid looked good. Believe it or not, he had himself a little game. I watched some highlights. I didn't watch the game, not gonna lie. But I did watch highlights, and he did pretty good. I mean, dude, he went 24 for 34, 309 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Some of his passes didn't look bad at all. Now, he didn't go deep a lot or anything like that, right? He had some nice passes. He had a couple good longer passes too, or 30-yard bomb, if you want to call it a bomb, to his tight end. But he had some good little passes. He didn't throw a lot of deep ball. He kept it smart, made smart decisions, played smart ball, especially in the second half, man. He played pretty well. I mean, he only missed 10 passes, bro. That's not bad. But he's only throwing. Even at throwing 34 times, it's not like they tempered his passes either.
Well, but you know how this goes. Like, and maybe it's different at your level, but on the pro level, they're scouting people, and there's no film on this guy. they don't know what the hell he's going to do. So then they, and this is where coaches have to be really good and adjust at halftime and all that stuff. Eventually, 2 or 3 games, they're going to have film on him and they're going to go, okay, usually you're in this position because you can't do something. And a lot of quarterbacks, it's arm strength, right? And so they go, we're going to make you throw outs, right? We're going to take away the inside route. We're gonna make the wide receivers go to the outside. We're going to use inside leverage, and make you use that noodle of an arm to get the ball outside. Because you're not a backup in the position the Patriots are, unless you have a weakness, or it's just crappy coaching. And that's not the case here. So, usually a quarterback like this, he gets a couple games, then they get film on him, and then they are able to counter it.
Correct. The Belichick special, right? I mean, that's why I said in 2 games he'll be selling hamburgers.
Yeah.
And you're right. As soon as they get film, everything changes. He's had 2 games now. His last game showed a good amount of what he's going to do. The next game they'll strategize for him and all that, but it's not going to be the Bears.
And does it matter because Justin Fields can't make any of the throws? So
correct. I mean, really,
we're not even going to do any leverage because it doesn't matter. You're not going to hit the guy. So
they're like, hey, y'all want to play defense? Nah, let the JV play. It's Fields. Yeah. I mean, dude, my Uncle Rico is going to go play safety for him. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the Bears, wow, man, 14 of 27, 190, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I mean, oh my goodness, right? It doesn't look great. But again, Justin Fields, the running back, though, he looked good. Again, man, I'm telling you, Justin Fields' future in the NFL, my opinion, is going to be a running back. He looks like a good running back. He doesn't look bad at all, but apparently they want to make him a quarterback. So it is what it is. Now, if Belichick can go and spank other teams around, who did he just spank recently? Because my mind is blank again. And no, it's not Gummies. The Browns, man. The Browns. Obviously, it was Jacoby Brisket. Justin Fields. If I had to choose between Brisket and Fields,
Brisket
I'm gonna go
all
Brisket.
day on Sunday.
All day, bro. Twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if the Patriots went and spanked around the Browns with their running game and so on and so forth, what do you think they're going to do to Justin Fields? Come on, bro. I mean, it's like, hey, just put a spy on Fields, put 2 spies on Fields. You know what? Put 10 spies. The kid ain't throwing past 20 yards, and you only need 1 free safety back to take care of that business. So it's going to be a long day for the Bears.
How do they have 12 people in the box? I don't know.
Yeah. Now, their running game ain't bad. And I don't understand why they don't Herbert, man. I know they're running Montgomery a little bit, but I like Herbert a lot. I really do. I think that kid is a great running back. I think they need to use him more, but they don't. And I'm not saying that just because I have him in every single fantasy football team I have. But he is a good running back. They both are. So is Montgomery's not bad, but Herbert's average has been great for the last couple games that he played. But it's the Bears, bro, and the Bears unfortunately just defensively the Bears still don't look bad. They're kind of middle of the pack to me. But it's the Patriots, man, and Belichick is Belichick, bro. How hard is it going to be? He's like, hey, coach, we need a plan defensively against the Bears. He's like, yeah, I'll do it in the shitter. It's not going to be hard.
Yeah,
it's not. And it's obvious. I mean, again, obviously, I'm rooting for Billy Zappi. So I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, but this is where a lot of football teams, they're all made with professional athletes. They're all the best, right? And people forget that, but they also work in conjunction. And when you have a weak link, it puts pressure on the other parts of the chain, right? So, like, if you have a bad special teams, it puts pressure on the offense and the defense, right? Because you make mistakes. If you have a bad defense, it puts pressure on the offense to score every time you go out. And if you got a bad offense, it puts pressure on the defense because you're constantly turning the ball over and you're doing 3 and outs. And a lot of people look at, and like you said, the Bears defense isn't what I thought. Well, it's probably is what you think. But the offense is so bad, it's putting them in bad spots or keeping them out there for 70 plays, and they're getting exhausted. And I've seen teams that have dysfunctional and sections, and this is again, what are you thinking with Fields here? Like, in the history of quarterbacks, you don't see quarterbacks that are, this is now year 2 of this experiment, and he's still throwing for 100 and something yards and 1 touchdown and 1 pick, and, or 0-2, and, it doesn't look pretty at all. Now, is he a dynamic runner? Absolutely. But so what? He's not playing running back, he's playing quarterback. And this, to me, no matter, I mean, at this point, how can you be in the Chicago front office and think that he is a NFL starting quarterback? He's not. And unfortunately, it's one of those, you took a high draft pick and now you need another high draft pick to get him, but you're probably going to spend another year or so in denial thinking that he's the guy. Which I think the 49ers have the same problem with Trey Lance. Maybe a little better than Fields, but it's in the same boat. And again, I think we talked about it last week and the week before last. Everybody wants the Patrick Mahomes with a cannon arm that can throw, with a flick of his wrist, 90 yards down the thing. He can run the ball, blah, blah, blah. They want the Josh Allen. Guess what? There's 2 of them. You don't get it. And what you get is a guy like Fields where you delude yourself into it, right? Well, he's got great wheels. Well, yeah, but he's missed like every pass he threw. And even Jalen Hurts to some extent. When I look at Jalen Hurts, I don't see... what I see in the playoffs with the Eagles is put 8 guys, a spy on Hurts, don't let him run in the red zone, let him try to pick up a first down with a spy and us dropping people back in the coverage, and let him try to beat me with his arms. And I don't think he can. Same, so all those quarterbacks, that's what I'm seeing. You see a guy like Mahomes, you absolutely know he can sit in the pocket. He doesn't have to run. He can beat you with his arm. He can do it with a flick of the wrist. Same thing with Josh Allen. You know he can beat you in the pocket. And again, I think a lot of teams are trying to get this holy grail, and they're missing on the 6'3" white guy that's out there that can't move. Runs the 40 in 10 seconds. The Eli Manning that can get you 2 Super Bowls, and it's someone's going to pick him up. And maybe it's the Patriots, maybe it's the Zapka guy. So, bottom line, Patriots.
Yeah, that was a long route to the Patriots.
That was the Patriots.
Yeah, because, it's the Bears.
It's the Bears.
The Bears. They do have a good rushing game, but it's not going to be enough.
It's not like Lamar, right? Or Lamar has enough of... I think Lamar is somewhere in between, way higher to the Allen Mahomes on his arm strength and arm talent and arm accuracy. Like, he's way at the top, right? But he's a very good runner too. And again, everybody wants a Lamar Jackson or a Deshaun Watson, or but there's not that many of them.
Wow, there's a name we haven't heard in a while, Deshaun the Tickler Watson,
which he is getting close to his 11 games being done. So it's getting closer, and Goodell said he's coming. He is ready. He's ready to be there.
I'm sure he was.
No puns intended.
Depends on the masseuse, I guess.
Yeah.
That's too funny. But yeah, man. Well, it's going to be a good week. If you look at it, what is the game, in your opinion, that is the game to watch this week? Because I know last week it was Buffalo KC. There isn't one, is there?
The Jags and the Titans. Or the Jags and the Giants. It's the game of the week.
You being a homer.
Yeah, I'm looking.
There really isn't. I mean, there really isn't a wow game this week, bro.
Not really.
Right? I mean, if you wanted to say...
maybe the Chiefs and the 49ers, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
they're not.
The Jags and the Giants for me is way up there. But yeah, there's not a marquee matchup that you got to watch. But there's also, that's the other thing, is there's not really a marquee. There's not a marquee team. The marquee teams are the Chiefs and the Bills. They played last week. You can't have them play every week. That's what I see. Maybe if the Ravens, you throw the Ravens in the mix. If the Dolphins could get their quarterback situation, You guys playing each other, so the Cowboys and the Giants, that'd be a fun one.
Any NFC East matchup is a good one, right?
Yeah,
Like rivalry matchup.
Yeah.
NFC East, yeah. But yeah, there's really nothing special this week, and I'm a little upset at the KC Buffalo game. The scheduler in the NFL needs to get fired because that was a dumb game not to have on prime time. You know?
Yeah, that should have flexed.
Yeah, for sure. That you would have had way better ratings. That's just dumb. But anyways,
3:00 on Sunday. Come watch the game of the week.
yeah, really.
But all right, it was a great week. Hopefully, we will do better than we did last week. You had a nice little tear for 2 weeks, and then back down to reality. So, but you're still in the lead by 7 games. So
That could change in 1 week.
not really, because we don't have enough difference in this week. But you're right; it could change in one single week. So
I didn't go nuts this week. Usually, when I go ballsy, I end up doing well. I didn't go very ballsy, so that tells me we're gonna.
well, and we'll have, but it's just like last week, right? Like who would have thought that the 49ers lost, the Browns, like we had a bunch of that we were, the Bucs lost. I would have, I did not think the Falcons were going to win, but they, these teams win games. Like they don't go 0-16 or 0-17. So they do win ones here and there, and it's any given Sunday, mantra. But
Sure.
all right, good week, man. Talk to you next week.
It was a good one. Yes, sir.